And with that, everybody, welcome to College Football Wraparound on a Thursday night. And had a little technical difficulty for a second. I don't know what happened, but we're here, and so um, I guess we can go ahead and dive into our first topic, and that is Caleb Williams for Oklahoma. He is, he played last week, and let me tell you, Caleb Williams is the better quarterback at Oklahoma right now. And if you wanted to know why, well, go watch how he played against TCU. Go watch how he came in for Spencer Rattler and made Spencer Rattler look terrible. Caleb Williams, he plays a lot like how Oklahoma wants to play. And that's a big thing because Oklahoma is a team they want to they want to be able to establish the passing game. Everybody knows that. But they as well, they want to establish a good running game, and they want to establish a lot of option runs with the quarterback, which you got to see with Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts. All of them were really great running the option. Spencer Rattler, he could make plays with his feet, but he wasn't willing to make it. Spencer Rattler's a very athletic quarterback, but Caleb Williams is more willing to put his body on the line and play for the team, whereas Spencer Rattler, he really I don't know if he didn't want to or what his deal was, but he wasn't out there to I don't think he was out there to be the starting quarterback. And plus the NIL deal he got, I'm telling you, if if this is how NIL is going to be treated, is the NIL going to help college athletics? Is this how we're going to see college athletics from now on if they don't address this? Where the top players decide, well, I'm paid. Now I don't really have to go show up. This is the NFL now. Okay, so that's the thing I'm seeing, and it's really scary to college athletics because players can now, they got all the money. Are they going to lose it for not showing up on Saturdays? So, for Spencer Rattler, his time at Oklahoma is probably over. Question is, with Spencer Rattler, would he stay at Oklahoma for another season and be a backup quarterback to Caleb Williams? Would he want to be a backup? And I don't think he would. Quite frankly, I think he would rather transfer out and go somewhere where he can be the starter. Now, there's a bunch of places he could go, but I'm going to save the Spencer Rattler talk for later. Because I just want to say, Caleb Williams he's helped this team so far in the two games. Now, understand, you got Texas that you played in TCU. Now, the big games left, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and then, of course, you got the Big 12 championship game, which, who knows, maybe you'll have a rematch against your in-state rival in Oklahoma State, which would be fun to watch. 2 straight weeks of Oklahoma State, Oklahoma in Bedlam. It'd be a fun matchup to watch, of course. But if you're Lincoln Riley, I guess the question is right now, we understand you trusted Spencer Rattler for so long, but how come it took this long to say, you know what? Let's swap Caleb in for Spencer. What kept you waiting? That's going to be the big question in the off season. If I mean, let's just be hypothetical here. If Oklahoma were to go on and win the college football playoff national championship game, then the question that comes up then is, why did you not switch quarterbacks sooner? Because you clearly see that this quarterback, Caleb Williams, he helped you win a national championship. So how come it took you so long to change from Caleb to Spencer, or Spencer to Caleb? Why did it take so long for you to decide, you know what, I want to change quarterbacks? So that's the thing. And I think Oklahoma really does have a good shot of winning. Now that they have swapped quarterbacks, they really look like the team that we thought Spencer was going to lead them with. They look like the high-flying power offense that is going to, Oklahoma's back to being Oklahoma, putting up 50 points a game. With Caleb Williams, they're back to how you know Oklahoma to be, and that is scoring and scoring and scoring some more. Now the question is, of course, if you do get to the college football playoff, what's it going to be like? Now, of course, there's a lot that we could say about the playoff, but there's still so long to go until the college football playoff that it's kind of crazy to start speculating right now. November 2nd would be the day that we start speculating. As you know, we're going to be bringing you a college football playoff ranking show every Tuesday leading up to the reveal of the playoff and the bowl games and everything that's going to go on. So, for Oklahoma, they're finally looking like the team that they should have been. Now, let's question, though, the games they have played so far. Nebraska looks like a good team that just cannot close out a game. You look at all these games Oklahoma's played, and they've been so close. But I'm going to have to cut the Oklahoma talk short. I'll come back to Oklahoma in just a little while. But I do want to get to Iowa. And was Iowa overrated on offense at the preseason? We heard about Spencer Petras. This offense was going to be really good. And really, it's just been one-dimensional with Tyler Goodson. And the defense has really helped them win the games. Where would this team be if the defense wasn't great for Iowa? Do you think they would be right there at the top? Would they be... Where would this Iowa team be if it wasn't for that defense? And I think it's been... You've seen, this is what Kirk Ferentz football is. It's defense, and then the offense shows up when it needs to get some plays. But Tyler Goodson's really been the only thing on offense that's really brought a spark or whatnot. Now, I'm not saying this Iowa team isn't good. I'm saying this Iowa team's really good. Question is, now that we saw them get beat at home, they got punched around by Purdue. Question arises is that if Sean Clifford doesn't get hurt, does Iowa have one loss, or do they have two losses at this point in the season? That's a good question. Let's say if Iowa State played a little bit better and could beat that defense, what could happen in that game? So the question is was Iowa overrated on offense? Yes. They were very overrated on offense. To a point where Spencer Petras is just a game manager. At this point in the season, though, you look at Heisman from a standpoint of we're midway through the season. Well, through the regular season, Heisman? This is nothing like what we thought we were going to get. At least like last year, we kind of had an idea, okay, there's a few guys we think may win it. Trevor Lawrence was probably Trevor Lawrence was probably at the top of your list last season. Either him or Justin Fields, of course. Down to it, Devontae Smith ended up winning the Heisman. And deservedly so. Devontae Smith played a good season last year. But now, this season, I mean, let's see. Spencer Rattler was up there. He's not even a starting quarterback right now. Sam Howell, his team is. I think I saw where they're 4-3. North Carolina, Miami with De'Aaron King. I think they're like 2-5. I mean, you look at DJ Uiagalelei. They're like 4-2. So I mean, you look at some of the guys you may have had at the top of your list at the beginning of the season, and you look at midway through this college football season, and it's changed so drastically. I mean, now Bryce Young's up there in the Heisman race. Bijan Robinson from Texas, a running back. I mean, there's probably a lot more names that this is. I mean, to be completely honest, could we say that Bryce Young, it's his Heisman to lose? I mean, I don't think that's so crazy to say that it's Bryce Young's to lose. Do I think that he's played incredibly? Do I think that he's played like the best player in football? I don't think he has. But for Iowa, if they were to, I mean, don't get me wrong, they got a lot of good games coming up. Iowa does. This schedule doesn't get easier. And let me just tell you, Wisconsin has looked poor. And I don't think they're very good, but I don't think Wisconsin's really going to give Iowa an easy game. I don't think Minnesota's going to give them an easy game. Just looking through the rest of their games, Nebraska ain't going to give you nothing easy. Nebraska's problem is closing games. So, for Iowa, they're going to have to either start playing better offense or their defense is just going to have to carry them. And quite frankly, I don't know if Iowa's defense can carry them a whole season plus, let's say, whatever bowl game they get in, or if they get to the college football playoff. I don't think they can carry them that long. The offense has got to find. I mean, the passing game's got to get going. Spencer Petras has got to be not a game manager, but a game changer. Spencer Petras has got to step it up a little bit. Iowa will not go anywhere if that offense can't do anything. And that's why I think Iowa right now, until they get all the issues on offense fixed, they will not be in the college football playoff at the end of the year. They will not. And that's just the truth of it. And the fact that they may have a chance, I think it was, I think last week, before they got beat to Purdue, this is a good team. I don't know if they're. And the question we had, though, was like, could they really. I mean, they could win the national championship, but what's it going to look like? So, I mean, right now, I think Iowa, they got a long way to go. They have a long way to get to the top, and it's not going to get easy it's not going to get easy. It's going to get harder before it gets easier. The easiest part of the season's after the clock hits triple zeros of the national championship game and you crown a national champion. That's the easiest part of the season because then you just celebrate the rest of the night, and then that next day it's back to work, repeating, or NFL, whatever it is for a player or a coach. The easiest time is literally right after you win the national championship. That's the easiest time as a college football player. So, Iowa got to get better in offense. And now I turn to probably the best G5 team of the era, Cincinnati. And I'm not saying that they're terrible. I'm saying they're really good. But could a one signature win against Notre Dame help an undefeated Cincinnati get to the college football playoff? Undefeated, and you'll have one win against a Notre Dame team who looks vulnerable and could get beat to USC this week. Is Cincinnati really a top 4 team? Well, I don't think they really are. I mean, the numbers deceive you. I think Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder's a good quarterback. I think honestly, at this point, he could be a Heisman candidate right now. Luke Fickell. The story of Luke Fickell going from interim head coach of Ohio State and just the poor output he gave with Ohio State, and then turning around, becoming the head coach of the Cincinnati Bearcats, and just the way he's brought this program, where he's brought it to, it's incredible to see. Now, let me tell you though, Cincinnati's always been a decent football program. They've always had decent football, and it really shows because now they're going to have a chance to play in the Big 12 and really compete against. The Big 12 is a better chance for Cincinnati to get in the playoff. But do I feel like they're going to make it this year? I think you're going to have to slow your roll a little bit because Cincinnati, I don't know. This season has been crazy, but wouldn't it get hard though? Let's say like Georgia, undefeated going to the SEC championship game, dominated everybody that they've played, hadn't had to really put up many points on offense, but their defense looks so stellar. Then you get a game against a one-loss Alabama, who after that A&M loss has steamrolled everybody they played. Their defense improved a lot after a wake-up call against A&M, which we thought they had a wake-up call against Florida, but of course, things change over time. But the big question is, if Cincinnati was to make it, would they really make it over another conference champion? Power 5 conference champion? Because, if you have 2 SEC teams, and then you'd have 2 other conference champions potentially, Cincinnati would probably sit at 5. We don't know what the playoff committee is going to say, though, because Cincinnati is a question mark right here. Now, let me tell you, if Indiana would have looked better this season, if Notre Dame would have looked better this season, and if Cincinnati would have put up more points against these teams, there's no way you would leave them out as if Cincinnati ends up undefeated. But big thing is, Cincinnati cannot let this go to their head because they lose one time. Oh, they're done. One loss will kill them. Last night, Coastal Carolina got a taste of that. They got a taste of what it means to lose in the regular season for the first time in a couple years. Now Coastal has no chance whatsoever for playoff, and I'm not saying they ever had a chance. I'm just saying if they ever believed they ever had a chance, then they just blew it there against App State. Didn't close the game. So, Cincinnati. I'm going to tell you some recipes for them to make the playoff. 1, you cannot have another close game. No more close games for Cincinnati, including the American Championship game. All games, blowouts. No close games, blowouts. All blowouts. 2, Desmond Ridder will have to continue to be an incredible quarterback. 3, running back who I forgot his name, but he was from Alabama. He's got to continue to play out of his mind. 4, defense has to continue to be defense. 4 recipes, easy. It's not easy to do in college football. Trust me. I was about to say it's easy. No, it's not easy. But I think that when you come down to it, you can. Jerome Ford, thank you for that viewer that I will potentially get some help with here in a little bit. Thanks for that. But Cincinnati has got to really. They can't have another close game. That's the big thing, though. If they can look dominant, and if they don't have another close game, there's a chance. I'm not saying they're getting in. I'm just saying there is a chance that they could make it with some big wins. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens the rest of the season. Of course, I do want to mention that I do want to tell y'all here on the stream that at about 6:29 coming up here in a little bit, I actually will have a commercial from a good friend of ours, PC and More Gifts. Of course, I've been telling you about them. Go buy some of their merch. If you haven't already, go do it. You would enjoy it. So, now I want to shift gears though, and of course I've already talked about Bama, but let's bring them back into the conversation. And that is, there is nothing wrong with Alabama. Nothing whatsoever. The offense, they showed up against Mississippi State. Defense, they showed up. Now, let me tell you, they're one-dimensional. Mississippi State is. They just pass the ball and pass the ball and pass the ball and pass the ball. And you know what they're going to do next? They're going to pass the ball. Mike Leach is an air raid guy. And this is what air raid guys do on a football game. And it's fun to watch. But can he sustain himself with the SEC style? You're watching this and you're like, well, is this really... this isn't really anything the SEC's ever seen. Maybe it has, but they barely run the ball at all. So there's no use for the running back position. So can a team be successful for very long playing that way? I think Mike Leach's teams have proven that in the past, that it takes time for him to build up the culture. And of course, with Mississippi State, oh my goodness, it's a huge change going from... you're going from run the ball, and run the ball some more, to just passing it. You're going from running 40, 50 times a game to passing it 50, 60 times a game. That's the stark difference. And of course, you get my pun there. Stark difference, Starkville, Mississippi is where Mississippi State's at. You get the pun there. But either way, that's the big question for Mississippi State, is how are they going to do in the future? And then, of course, Alabama, getting back to them. Now, they got a big game against Tennessee coming up on Saturday night, who, in the least of things, Tennessee fans really had them a great night Saturday night against Ole Miss at home. Oh my. SEC referees, they're just incredible. I'll tell you that. And you know what? I'll tell you what, I didn't know Vols fans really loved golf. I really didn't know that. And I didn't know they loved putting mustard on those hot dogs. Come on, I can't believe that. But in all seriousness, though, Alabama, I don't see them really... I think Tennessee will play good against Bama, but not good enough to win. I think you're going to see a game where Bama puts up maybe, well, yeah, 50 points. I could imagine. I mean, Saban's been on the Tide's defense all week, I bet. And that offense of Tennessee it's a good offense. You could still I mean, it's still controversial. I mean, you could go back and look at that play where Hendon Hooker throws the ball. I think you could have seen that could have been a first down right there. Probably was, and the SEC officiating crews are trash this season. That's just the least of it. They've been like this for a while in the SEC. SEC's lead by example motto. Well, what motto is that when you can't even get good calls in the football game? So it's an interesting situation, but Alabama should handle Tennessee very well. I mean, I don't see Tennessee really staying close. I think the final score will probably be like 52-30, probably for Alabama and Tennessee. I mean, I think that's good for Tennessee. I mean, if you can score 30 points against Alabama, I feel like you're good. I mean, it's not what you want, but I feel like it'd be decent. But Alabama, I don't think they're losing to Tennessee. I mean, if you look at other games coming up, Auburn's an interesting game. Let me tell you. And the reason why I say Auburn's interesting is because go look at Brian Harsin right now. And that is, he's had, I mean, you go to Penn State, and you looked good against a Penn State team who really deserves a chance at the playoff. They got only one loss, so I mean they got to have a chance. And I mean, you just look through the whole thing, and Alabama really has. I mean, is there really a game that you could say Bama could lose? Auburn's like the only one I see left that Bama could lose. Until you get to the first weekend of December and you got the SEC title game, Bama and Georgia. I honestly think it's locked in, but I don't want to get ahead of myself because right now, I mean, if everything falls into place, A&M fans, trust me, y'all are still in this mix for the SEC title game against Georgia. Because not only do y'all have that win against Alabama, but, I mean, you were to beat Auburn, and then, if you think about it, you beat Auburn and Alabama. If Arkansas beats Alabama, I mean, you think about it, A&M could still make this. There's going to have to be a lot happen, but A&M could still make the SEC title game and knock Alabama out of the playoff. But think about it. This has really been the Wild West this season in the SEC West. And, I mean, for a lot of people out there, Arkansas and LSU really swapped places in the expectations coming into this season. Arkansas was expected to be decent but not good enough. LSU was supposed to be pretty good and weren't supposed to be just decent. So Alabama should win the West. It's probably a done deal by now. So with that, it is commercial time. I'll see you back in a moment. So we hope that you enjoy this commercial. Okay, so for now we are having some technical difficulties regarding the commercial. Um, let's see here. So we will get that playing in just a moment. Of course, coming up, we have a bunch of stuff coming up on the channel and the video for tonight, live stream. Hope that you are enjoying this. But for now, we are trying to get your video, which is the commercial, to you. And so, yeah, so I don't know if that's coming up. So, um, hopefully we can get that. So, um, but basically, if you didn't already know, PCM More Gifts has helped us with a lot of stuff. And you know what? We would like to support them and promote them here on the channel. So, if you are new to the channel, please go out and buy some merch because they have created some merch for us and it's great. You should go try it out. Hopefully you'll like it. So, you know, we'll see. But now we want to go into the next 7 minutes, and that is questions from the viewers. So you, the viewers, will have a chance to have your question put here live on Saber Broadcast Network's coverage of college football wraparound. So please, right now, give us a question. Give us something you want to know from me. I'm happy to tell you what I think about college football. Trust me, I'm a huge football fan. So if you hit me with a question, I'm coming for you, and I'm going to give you your answer. So please hit me up with a question. Of course, we've got about 6 minutes. Got an interesting question here. Who do you think will win, Bowling Green or Eastern Michigan? Well, I haven't taken a lot of time to figure out some things about MAC football. Um, I do know that it's been a pretty good season for the MAC relatively in regards to some of the wins that's came. Pitt got beat to Western Michigan. Was it? I think it was Bowling Green who beat Minnesota earlier this season. Um, so this game, I don't. I think I'm gonna go Eastern Michigan. I think that they. I mean, I don't know a lot about the MAC right now, but I do think that Eastern Michigan does have an advantage here. I'll go Eastern Michigan on this game. So, um, any more questions? Because I will be here giving your questions. So, any more questions from the viewers? I'm happy to take them. We've got about let's see, got about 5 minutes for more questions. Also, I do want to tell you coming up later tonight on the coverage here with us, here with the College Football Wraparound, we'll be talking about Ed Orgeron and we'll be talking about Clemson and Pitt. So, who is the next Georgia Southern head coach going to be? Ooh. Well, let me be honest. I do watch more Sun Belt than I do MAC because I'm being honest, the MAC and Mountain West really aren't quite as good anymore. So, um, honestly, Georgia Southern, I think that you're going to see a guy who's not really that big, of course. I mean, you think about it. Uh, you know, honestly, I think that you could see a guy from a staff from maybe an SEC school or ACC. Um, I don't know. It's going to be really interesting, but an interesting candidate you could potentially put in there is Alabama's wide receivers coach. That would be an interesting hire right there for Georgia Southern. Thinking about, Alabama's had great offenses through the last few years, so that would be interesting. Oh, Georgia Southern runs the triple option. Oh, okay. Um, so Georgia Southern, I'm not sure right now. Got quite a few more questions. Which one is a better job, USC or LSU? LSU. LSU is better for competition, better for recruiting, basically anything you want to say. USC, okay, don't get me wrong, USC is a great job, but LSU right now is just overwhelmingly a better job. Um, it's, I mean, quite frankly, USC cannot stand with LSU right now because LSU, there's going to be guys from the NFL looking at this job and being like, you know what? This is a job I want. Let me tell you, um, if you see another guy from the NFL get fired, and I'm gonna say potentially like okay, let me just throw one out there. Urban Meyer. If the things at Jacksonville don't go well, that's behind the scenes, everything. Urban Meyer would be interesting to see at LSU. Wouldn't you want that? This would be so interesting. Plus, with with Urban Meyer's reputation, LSU would be an interesting place for Urban Meyer. But I don't see him getting fired. I think he's safe with Jacksonville right now. So I mean, that LSU job, and I'll be talking about that here in 2 minutes. Of course, I've got another couple questions. So first though, Colton Naylor says, "Who's better, Nick or Bear?" Of course, he did come back on here and fix Nick. So, Colton, I'm going to tell you straight up that I believe that um it's hard to really say who's better, but I would probably have to go honestly probably Bear Bryant just because football was much more physical back in his day, and in that day and age defense is ruled. And I think that although offenses have been fun to watch these last few years, I feel like the offenses don't stand with the incredible defenses of what Bear Bryant had at the time. So Bear Bryant to me is better than Nick Saban, even though the championships probably won't say that. And then where will Spencer Rattler end up? End up if he does transfer? And you know what? Florida is very enticing right now. Let me tell you, if Emory Jones or Anthony Richardson are not the guy, watch out. Georgia, look, Stetson Bennett, senior, is a senior. He's probably going to the NFL to be a quality backup quarterback. Let me tell you, Stetson Bennett, he'd be a quality backup for Miami right now for Tua Tagovailoa. Trust me, Dolphins fans, you want Stetson Bennett in case if Tua were to get hurt. This would be a great situation. JT Daniels, he will probably end up being a starting quarterback in the NFL. I don't know where. But Spencer Rattler, honestly, right now, probably the best bet is Georgia. And trust me, that would be fun to see a playoff game. Caleb Williams against Spencer Rattler, a duel between who is better. Well, guys, thanks for all the questions. I hope that I got to all of them. But if I didn't, I'm sorry. But I've got to roll with the show. And I've got to get to LSU. I mean, you think about LSU, and there's a lot to talk about. And that is, Ed Orgeron has officially agreed to part ways at the end of the season. Now, honestly, this may be the most smart coaching change you've had. I mean, honestly, I'm a person that thinks this is probably really smart on LSU's part. I mean, you just finished the season with Ed Orgeron. I mean, it's kind of. I think that's the two different situations between USC and LSU. I think the fact that they're going to keep Ed Orgeron on for the rest of the season, I feel like it's a statement being said out to football, basically saying, okay, this is not our year. Last year was not our year. And let's just let them have a nice send off. Which, I mean, let me tell you, after that national championship, it's not been pretty for Ed Orgeron. It's not been pretty behind the scenes either. I mean, you think about it, since Joe Brady and Dave Aranda left, and in the 2 seasons after they left, LSU, sorry about that, but LSU is 9-8 in that time. A 9-8, and that is, I'm being perfectly honest, it's not acceptable for the LSU Tigers with all that talent to be 9-8. Last year, they had to go on a streak, just a streak of winning, just to get back to 500. So, you think about it, and Ed Orgeron has really struggled as the head coach of LSU. I mean, I'm being honest, if it weren't for Dave Aranda and Joe Brady, LSU wouldn't have won the championship. Ed Orgeron is better if he were like a defensive line coach. He's better at that. He's not better as a head coach. He's not a head coach at all. And let me tell you, comments he's made through the years has hurt him a lot. And you know what? Ed Orgeron's been hurt a lot by by the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. So LSU is a train wreck right now. But as far as Ed Orgeron's leadership of it, it's not very good. But let me tell you, there are coaches in the NFL right now that would look at their NFL job and say, you know what? I'd rather go coach in college right now because LSU is better than some NFL jobs. That's just what it is right now. Consider this. A guy like Nick Sirianni at the Philadelphia Eagles, really, right now, your team is terrible, got no future, and it'll probably be another 50-year streak or whatever it was, whenever they won the Super Bowl, their first Super Bowl, they'll ever win again. For him, LSU, you see that job and you're like, that's a good job. I want that. There's NFL jobs that you'll look at and you're like, I'd rather have the LSU Tigers football head coaching job instead of my NFL job. And that's just where it is today. So, but I think the guy that will eventually get the job, and you're going to have 2 straight head coaches who coach at Ole Miss and end up becoming the head coach of LSU. And I think it's Hugh Freeze. And let me tell you, Hugh Freeze would be an interesting hire because you're going to get a guy who's beat Saban before. And, of course, in the SEC, sadly, that's a measuring stick is, can you beat Saban? Can you beat Saban? Well, he's done it twice. He did it 2 years in a row with Ole Miss. And not to mention, Ole Miss has had some great teams. Had 2 great teams with Hugh Freeze. So, honestly, I think Hugh Freeze would be a great fit for LSU. And I'm being honest, I think he'd bring this talent to where it needs to be. And maybe then we would get our rivalries, Alabama and LSU, and Auburn LSU, and Florida LSU, would be close games again. Close, competitive, and primetime games. You could say, you know what? This is probably game of the year. That's what we're probably going to get out of LSU if Hugh Freeze becomes head coach. Now, there's a bunch of other guys that's going to be thrown in here. I think another guy that has to be considered, Herm Edwards. Think about it. Herm is a great coach. He goes to LSU and he would change it a lot there in LSU. He'd be a great hire, I believe. So, I think Herm Edwards, Hugh Freeze really are the top 2 guys, in my opinion, right now. So, we'll see what happens, but, of course, that LSU job, we've still got the off season to go through to see who's going to be their head coach, so we'll see. All right. Our last topic before we start picking the games, can Clemson rebound season against Pittsburgh? Well, Answer is yes. And the reason why is because Clemson has proven time and again they're really great. And I think Clemson has looked really great so far, and Pitt's looked really good. So this is really, I believe this could be one of the games of the week. And I think Clemson could rebound in this game and look really good. So I think that it's going to be a great game. And I don't think this is where Dabo wanted Clemson, and that is I don't think he wanted them down and almost out, and this. I mean, not looking this great, and I think that it's going to be an interesting game Saturday. So Clemson, I feel like they've got issues, and it's mainly on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think the defense has really been hurting, but I think it's the offense. DJ Uiagalelei, I feel like struggled. The offensive line, is the main issue, and I feel like the inexperience of the receivers is really hurting them right now. But for every great team right now, I feel like it's okay to have a season where they're in a slump year or whatnot. I feel like it's okay because Clemson right now they have a good chance of still making a New Year's Six bowl. And Dabo is a great coach, so he could get them there. This Pittsburgh game is going to be big in regards to how this all ends up. So, we'll see what happens with Clemson, but I think Clemson can rebound their season against Pitt because I feel like Pitt's good, but they probably. I think Clemson's going to come out with so much fury that it's not going to matter. So, and now it is time for the game picks. And so, of course, we'll start with Oklahoma State and Iowa State. And the Cowboys' defense has looked great this season. And of course, the Cyclones. Cyclones will look good. This is a difficult game to pick, and I feel like it's going to come down to who has the football last. And I feel like I honestly feel like it could go Iowa State's way. I'm going to go Iowa State in this game. I think Oklahoma State, I feel like it's just too. I feel like that it's going to be too. I feel like Oklahoma State's not good enough at this point. I feel like their defense has carried them, and their offense hasn't showed me enough. So I'm going to go Iowa State, just because I think that Iowa State's going to carry. Iowa State can carry themselves and win a game like this instead of Oklahoma State, because I don't feel like Oklahoma State is quite as good. So, in a game I was just talking about Clemson and Pittsburgh. Pitts look good, of course, but I think Clemson will win this game. I feel like Clemson's going to rebound and look great in their game against Pitt. I feel like they're going to make a run, and they'll be in the New Year's Six Bowl. I just feel like that's where you're seeing Clemson go. So I'm going to go Clemson in this game. I feel like they're the better team right now. So Tennessee and Bama, yeah, Bama's going to win this by at least 3 touchdowns. So so that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go Alabama. I feel like it's going to be a 3-touchdown game, and it's not really going to stay close. So I think Bama's going to win this. And then I think you could see an upset right here with USC and Notre Dame. I feel like USC is going to win the game. USC's had a great season. I mean, USC, well, actually not. Either way. Clay Helton got fired. Not great with Dante Williams, but Notre Dame is struggling too, so USC could get this win. Think about it. This is a good game for USC in contrast to you're down and out. And you know what? This would be a good rebound if you want to salvage something out of your season. So, USC, I think they're going to get the win. And then, game of the week, Oregon and UCLA. There's really not any better games than this. Of course, Oregon, I feel like there's a lot that they can do. I still feel like they have a good chance to be in the playoffs. So I think I'm going to go UCLA though with this upset and knock them out. This would be a crazy upset for UCLA, and Chip Kelly gets Oregon. So I'm going to go UCLA. And with that, that is college football wraparound for today. I do want to reiterate though to shop for merch at PCMR Gifts on Facebook. And you know what? I'll try getting that commercial because they worked hard on that commercial, and I feel like they deserve a chance to have it shown here on the channel. But I guess it won't come up. Well, either way, thank you for watching. We'll be back next week. So, and enjoy your college football Saturday.